not to be like, I love Taylor Swift, but, I love Taylor Swift, but we kind of did like the first real Easter egg drops with our videos that we had done. Easter eggs weren't as much of a thing then.
Thank you for being here. It's such a delight. You're actually the first music video director I've had on.
Okay.
And oftentimes I'm like popping people's cherries, but like you're kind of popping my cherry.
Oh my God.
Today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Such a great podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk to you because you have just been kicking ass, dude, like for a long time. And your work is phenomenal. And, folks that maybe aren't as like plugged into the music video commercial space may not be as aware, though they should be, with all the incredible work you've been doing. So I wanted to take this opportunity to like give you the space to talk about your journey and everything you've built, because it's pretty remarkable. I hope you recognize that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a long journey. I've been doing this. I mean, it's crazy to say I've been living in LA for 21 years. I know you're very similar to that.
19. Yep.
So 21 years is a long time to like go somewhere to like chase your dream and like still be doing it.
Yeah. But I mean, when I was looking at some of the incredible roster of powerhouse artists that you've worked with, names like, Ariana Grande, Katy Perry, Demi Lovato, Doja Cat, Nicki Minaj, like what would Hannah of 21 years ago think about this Hannah of today and what you've accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, I literally set out to make pop videos. And as you probably know, I, was obsessed with TRL growing up. So I was obsessed with music videos growing up as a kid. It was never like, oh, I want to get into film and then music videos may be the way to get in. It was always, I want to make music videos.
Yeah.
And I do want to make film and I'm itching to do that. But music videos was always something I was super passionate about as a kid. I just remember seeing them and feeling really inspired and just feeling like the power that they had to drive an artist's career, even at my young teenage self would be like, oh my God, these are such big moments for these artists. So I think I would be really like, I'd be so hyped to know that I was doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I think for artists, like, it's always funny when I work with an artist that was like a big deal when I was growing up. That's always like the craziest for me.
Yeah.
Like the one artist, I'll just like jump right into that, would be Avril Lavigne.
Oh my God.
Oh
my God. Yes.
She was the one I had all over my wall.
Yeah.
It was like her and Britney and Christina.
Yeah. The trifecta.
But like Avril was like the one that
she was so cool.
She was the coolest. And and she was so unique and just like, I felt like so connected to her in some way. And so for me, when I was able to work with her in 2021 or 22, I forget which year it was, that was probably the most surreal experience of my entire career, because it was just like, it felt like this one moment where the universe like shook itself up and like spit us out in the same place on the same set. And like, it was the most insane feeling directing her and being with her and talking with her and like going back on the phone with her and like talking through ideas and going through edit notes like that. Like I think about it still and I'm like, did I process it at the time, or was it like, am I processing it now? But like, that was the trippiest moment of all.
And you have the video to remember that. No, it happened. You were there. You made it. Like, it's not just like a fever dream. Yeah.
Yeah. And we shot on film that video, which is like not something I normally do. So even like capturing it on film also made it feel like more tangible.
Yeah.
Something about that. So that was a really cool process.
I love that. Folks now can have instant gratification with music videos, right? You can like rewatch something on YouTube a million times.
I know.
But when we were growing up, like you had to wait, you had to work for it. And I remember like MTV and VH1 in the middle of the night had those, like, they would just play music videos all night long. And me and my cousins would like stay up all night, and we would just have like, when the remotes had the button that you would click and it would go back and forth between two channels.
Oh,
I forget what that button was.
God,
right?
What was that button called?
What was that called? I don't remember, but it was just like constantly back and forth, and we would stay up all night.
Such millennials.
We are like watching music videos.
No, just thinking about the remote. I'm like,
the remote. Yeah, I remember what that button was. There was a name for it. We'll have to look it up. But like, I just like, and Avril for sure, Skater Boy, and It's Complicated. Like all of those like music videos were so marking for me as well, and like waiting for TRL. And I think for me too, when I started to realize later when I found producing, it was like I lived for the behind the scenes of the making of the music video.
Oh my God, totally.
Because I was like, wait, there's all these people that are required. There's all of this like stuff to create this magic. Like you just see the end result. And I was always fascinated by the process. So I loved that more than the video itself sometimes.
Oh my God, totally. And I love that they premiered it. It was so smart. They premiered the making of the video and the video at the same time. It was like such a countdown and such a moment. And they eventized each video in such a way that I guess what social media is now with like the rollout on like Instagram and TikTok and all that. But it back then it just felt like, now like sit down everybody, let's take a seat. This is going to be a big deal. And that was really cool.
Well, and to your point, like before this era of music videos, artists didn't really put out music videos like that. It was like a live recording at a concert maybe, or footage from a tour that they had been on. People didn't really sit and intentionally think about like a message and a visual aesthetic, that represented where they were in their careers at the time. And we've seen that now over the course of, I think, like 20, 30 years, it feels like. But it's fairly new.
Yeah, it is. It is a fairly new medium, and it's gone through lots of ebbs and flows of just like what, where budgets are and where priorities are for labels and where the priorities are for artists, So I think it's really cool to see. I think they're coming back. I don't think budgets will ever be back, but I think the importance of like a visual medium and a social media presence that is backed by, music videos and content that is, high production value, whether you're trying to hide the production value with it being really lo-fi or it just being like a big glossy thing. Obviously, those are just trend based, but I think people are understanding that you do need a visual to really support the brand of an artist and help build the brand and tell people, like, pay attention to these people. We're putting money behind these people. And I think it's just all part of the marketing, and I don't think that will ever go away.
Maybe do you think that an artist, though, can exist without that brand aspect these days?
No.
Yeah.
I don't. I think, of course, there's music. There's always going to be music. But I don't think there's any sort of, like, sustainability and, like, being...
Like longevity.
Longevity. I mean, maybe longevity through music, but, like, that's, like, for, like, super fans or people that are just, like, I don't even know what that would be. But I do know that you do need visuals to support anything to be even... to have a presence and to make it today.
Be in the conversation.
To be in the conversation, exactly.
Yeah. But so taking it back, so you were also a hobbyist film editor. Like when you found your lane and you were like, music videos is it for me. You come to LA, you go to some film schools out here that kind of got you in the game. But what were some early days? Because I know you took some PA jobs and then you worked as a makeup artist. So walk us through those like first few years and when you eventually got your first music video.
Yeah. So I definitely had not a traditional path, but I don't think there's any traditional path.
No such thing as traditional.
There's no such thing. And it's hard to navigate that. But my path was I moved here when I was 18 from Bellevue, Washington, which is a suburb of Seattle. And I went to New York Film Academy. Well, let me back up because it all started when I was 17, the summer before my senior year of high school, like that senior year gap in the summer. I went to film camp at New York Film Academy here in LA. And it was a really like eye-opening program. I like begged my parents to like send me. They like thinking back, I'm like, thank God they did. You know what I mean? Like that was so great of them. And like they supported me and they spent that money and sent me off to go live at the Oakwood Apartments. If you know, you know.
Rite of passage. Yep.
Yeah. On Barham Boulevard. And there I was my first time being around like-minded, like young adults, 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds. And it was my first time being around people who also like to do what I do, which was, I called it back then, I was like cinematography. I had no idea what like directing was. I mean, I kind of did through like TRL and like you were saying, like the making of the video, but I was able to just meet people who wanted to be directors and writers and cinematographers. And, there wasn't many like people coming into those programs wanting to be like producers or production designers or anything. Mm-hmm. And probably not even editors at that point, but I was able to like meet people and like just have an understanding of like, yes, I like being here. I like how I feel being here and focusing on film I put in quotes because, but yeah. And then from there, I went back to, it was an eye-opening experience. Like I said, I went back to high school. I did my senior year. I did like all these like high school programs through my high school. And then I moved right to LA at 18. I didn't even bother like trying to go to a university like a USC or anything. My grades were terrible. I was not like a good student in that way. And so from there I went to New York Film Academy, which was like the same school I went to as the film camp in LA again. Very confusing. And I did that for a year. It was like a year-long program. It was like very much focused on directors, and it was also, you were divided into groups with your age. So I was with a bunch of 18-year-old wannabe directors, which is like not the most like conducive learning environment.
No.
Especially if like you want to be like hands-on making projects. Like, I don't know, times were also very different, right? I bet it would be a different scenario now. I feel like kids these days are just like,
they grew up with like iPhones in their hands, and they have access to like making things way earlier.
Yeah,
right?
they're just way savvier than we were back then, of course. So, and then from there, I discovered the LA Film School, which was like just over the hill and on Sunset. And then I went to that for a year, and that was more focused on like directing, editing. People wanted to be production designers, people wanted to be producers, people wanted to be cinematographers and editors. So it was like already it was an experience where I was not just surrounded by directors. Now I could like crew up with people and make projects, and people like wanted to do different jobs. And then from that, it was really like I graduated. I did music videos as my thesis films. My teachers were so against it. And now they're like, yeah, Hannah.
They were like, we believed in her since the beginning.
No, they're actually super supportive. And like, they let me come back and like film projects there and use students as like help. They're really great.
That's awesome.
But yeah, from there, I was like, okay, I need to like get out into the working world. And so I started like interning, and like I tried PAing and doing all those things and meeting people that way. And I was just so bad at that. I was so stressed out, not knowing what my job was going to be that following morning when I got my call sheet. Like it really stressed me out. Like I had like a 4:30 a.m. call time one day, like an hour and a half away. And like, and that was for, that's for a Billy Talent music video directed by Floria Sigismondi, huge director. I'm such a fan of hers. So like, for example, that was something that really stressed me out. And like, it was a lot of like early call times, not knowing what my task was going to be. And like, that just didn't bode well for me and my personality, especially as like an idiot 19, 20-year-old, like without an iPhone. This is like, again, pre-iPhone.
We had to print out like MapQuest, print out instructions to get where we were going.
Pre-smartphone. I don't know how PAs.
I don't know how we did it.
I don't know how anybody did anything back then.
Anywhere back then.
How do you get a phone call? How do you move quickly? How do you shoot production? Like how
are they making movies in the time of telegrams? That's what I always wondered, because that was happening.
I mean, they all just probably got in one room and nobody ever left.
That's true.
Like, because now it's like everything is over text, everything is on a Zoom.
Yeah.
Like just to jump forward, I started out doing commercials pre-COVID, just barely. And that was before Zoom. Like nobody was on a Zoom to take production, like to take like a treatment pitch call. Yeah. Sorry to jump ahead, but like it's all Zoom now.
Yeah.
And like back then you'd be like, okay, go to page 32 and not that photo, but the one over there. It's like so hard to describe like where you're at, like walking through a treatment with somebody. Anyways.
But we did it. We figured it out.
Like we did figure it out, barely. Other people figured it out better than I did. But so back to the film school and then PAing. PAing wasn't for me. I also was like, times were different in the industry too. Like I was a young woman, and it was a different world back then, especially in this industry. And I just was not taken seriously. I would tell people I wanted to be a director, and I was PAing, and it was just like women producers were nasty to me. Like men were nasty. Men were condescending. It was just like not a great place at that time to come up as a PA.
Yeah.
And I knew immediately, I'm like, this is not for me. I'm not going to get where I want to be. I'm not going to meet people. I'm not going to make connections this way. I did get to have my first like on-set experiences, but mainly it was like, and bless these people who still have to do all this, I was getting waters. It was going on runs and grabbing something. It was doing errands, and all those jobs need to happen on a set, and PAs do that all the time on a set. And we need those people to do those types of like jobs on a set. But like, I just knew that wasn't the path for me to get to be directing.
Yeah.
Maybe if you want to be a producer, that's a great way to like start getting ins with producers, of course. Either way, it's all good experience at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah.
So then from there, I was like, this is not going to be for me. I'm going to go to makeup school. I loved doing makeup as a kid. I loved doing it in high school. Like I always like gravitated towards that, like on like shoots at my school. I'd be like, yeah, I'll do makeup and glam and whatever. And, I was like, I'm going to go to school. Again, this is pre-Instagram, pre-YouTube. I was not a self-learner in that way. I was like, I need somebody to make sure I'm like doing this right.
Yeah, yeah.
So I went to a 4-month program in LA called Cinema Makeup School. And I just learned as much as I could. I did like anything from like beauty to like special effects, like monster makeup and like prosthetics and all those things. And it was really fun to just get to learn all that. And then I was able to just be on set as a makeup artist. And then as a makeup artist, you are kind of privy to more creative conversations. You're like have a role that people are like, okay, you're a makeup team. You're going to talk to this creative team. You're going to talk to these ADs. And it's like a different part of the crew where you're able to like get the treatment, get the script, get something in a way that you could like take that and learn. So I was able to do makeup. All the while, my goals were still to be like a director. So
were you directing stuff on the side just to keep yourself sharp as well?
Oh yeah, I mean as much as I could, and like this is all stuff like I was paying for music videos. I was
right because I read that you used part of your student loans to make your first music video.
Oh my god,
like really betting on yourself
and go to like Wet Seal. Deep cut.
Wow.
Literally. What was I doing? Who gave me that money?
I don't know.
Literally, I made 2 music videos and I went shopping.
Listen, you had your priorities straight. That's what you did. Look at you now.
Literally. No, it's so crazy. It's just, yeah. And then I was able to, also back then, it's like to meet people, you couldn't just DM a band. You couldn't DM an artist like on Instagram. You had to like go to shows and meet managers and like get backstage and like talk to people. So all things that I'm like, I can't believe I did that. You know what I mean? It's all like, that's so terrifying, you know?
Now it feels terrifying, but that was just the norm. You had to really be out there hustling on the streets. Like you couldn't just hide behind a computer screen or an iPhone. You know, you really had to be putting yourself out there in a way that I think builds a lot of grit.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
I think folks of this generation, it's like they'll never know that kind of like hustle because there's no other path. There was no other path.
I know. Now you can just DM somebody and like have a couple photos on your Instagram that like look cool and suddenly you can get a job. But that's great. I'm happy things have evolved. I really am. Like that's great. Yeah. I'm not like putting that down or anything. I think it's, you know, I think we've paved the way, like generations before us have paved the way for us.
That's right.
So yeah, I think from there it was really about meeting bands and just trying to find videos to do. And then before you know it, I had like a little bit of a budget, and that budget allowed me to hire a producer. And that producer led me to a director's rep. And that director's rep would then give me leads on like, hey, there's this music video if you want to write a treatment for it, because they would be working with the video commissioners at record labels. And then it was really though through makeup where I met everybody that I work with today. Like truly, like I was on set of a Kelly Clarkson music video doing makeup. It was called "My Life Would Suck Without You." Such a great song.
Yes.
And yeah, it was such a great song, directed by Wayne Isham, who is like such a legend. He did like Dirty Pop, a bunch of Britney Spears, "Not a Girl, Not Yet a Woman," really great music videos of the time. And his assistant at the time, a guy named Spence Nicholson, he was assisting Wayne, and I was an assistant makeup artist, and we just happened to be on set chatting about like how we both are directors, and like in conversation we're like, oh, we're like kind of pitching on the same things, meaning like we're submitting treatments on, you know, $5,000 music videos, and we're like kind of in the same circle of where we are in our career. And so we were able just to sort of navigate like, oh, hey, you know that person, I know that person. And then before you know it, I was like doing makeup on music videos that he was directing. And then I met like the people that were producing his videos, which is now the production company I'm with now, called London Alley. Which is so insane to think about that.
It's such a great, like, I love that you're bringing it back, because we talk a lot about on the podcast for folks that are starting out about the value and the importance of investing in the people that are at like your level right now, because those are the folks you're going to grow with. And that is literally a living, breathing example of that. How like the seeds that you planted at that time, you nurtured those relationships in a way that they've grown. And 20 years later, you know, it's obviously led you to these great places.
Yeah. And I will say that like something I, you know, back then I said yes to everything. I did any job I could. If I was on set hired as a makeup artist and art department needed help, I would help.
Yeah.
If they needed help cleaning up afterwards, I would do that. And then even sometimes I would do makeup and take the hard drive home, and I'd also be the editor. And I'm not talking about like small videos either. Like on big music videos, I'd be like the makeup artist, and then I'd leave with a hard drive and be also the editor. And it was from those experiences working with those commissioners at the record labels that they would see that I was on set, so they would get to know me in that way. And then I would also be working with them as like their editor. And so they were able to like see me, you know, an editor is very much a director, but you know, with a computer. You know what I mean? Like you're very much like it's the second part of it that's obviously so important. So they were able to see me working through an edit and then also getting to know me on set. And it was from there that I was able to meet a music video commissioner named Jeff Panzer, who was the commissioner for all of like the Cash Money, YMCMB guys, which led me to
your first big music
my
video.
big break video,
Yeah,
which was
Lil
Lil
Wayne's
Wayne.
Love Me in 2013, which as of last night has 620 million views on YouTube. There's a quote that you have here from this experience, because you were one of the first female music video directors to work with these guys, with rappers, all these rappers together in one video, which was a huge deal at the time because, folks weren't taking women very seriously back then. Certainly female directors in the music video space and then within the rap scene, that's just like a hat on top of a hat of a hat. What was that moment like, that first day walking in, and how you had to like step into your power?
Yeah, I mean, it's so silly to think about it now, like, because, back then it was a big deal. Like, I hate talking about female directors because we're all just directors. And I think the more we say female, it just kind of like isolates it all in a way that's not moving the needle forward. But, and I think we all can agree that feels so yesterday. But back then, it was very much like a double take when even the crew found out there was a woman director. So when these specific artists, obviously Lil Wayne knew, and we talked on the phone and we worked through the creative together, and he was very cool and super respectful and fun and, great to work with. But like the featured artists, like Future and Drake, they didn't know until they showed up that day. So that was more of the surprise came more from them. And it wasn't a negative thing. It was more just like, you know what I mean? And then even, when I started working with Nicki Minaj, like a couple of jobs later through that connection, even she was like, and can you believe this was a woman director? Like she was, I mean, obviously we're all working with women all the time. So again, it's not a big deal today, but back then it really was. And I will say there are so many women like directors that came before me that are so talented and like paved the way even for me. I will say also Diane Martel, she just recently passed. She was somebody that I really looked up to, and she was an incredible woman, incredible human being, and such an incredible director. And, she's somebody who did also pave the way in that specific genre.
Many women paved the way, but I think like you said a long time ago, but 2013, like that's not that long ago. It's like a little over a decade, and I think we forget, and it's amazing like the progress that we've made so far now that we have different language to articulate this stuff, to your point. But like even 10 years ago, to be given that opportunity and that responsibility in these spaces, it was all the pebbles, right, to building blocks for where we are today. And I think having people in power like these artists go, oh shit, okay, yeah, like that's cool, and everyone's looking around to see how they're going to react, right? Because they're setting the tone,
right? You're
and
so
that
right.
all matters. Like that, it's invisible, but it matters.
Yeah,
and it matters
shows
towards
that
the
they're
progress.
Taking a bet on a woman,
exactly,
and that more people should. Definitely.
Exactly, and so it's a big step. But were you nervous? Like, how did you? Not just to be a woman in that space, but it was a big deal, big like step for you, right? As a director.
I was so nervous. I was so nervous. I think I went up to Future and I was like, "Hi, Future. My name's Hannah." Like I was just like, I was incredibly nervous, and I'm still nervous to this day. I don't think it ever goes away. Like you're. It's not like I'm intimidated in a way that's like hindering, but like you get nerves and you're excited and you want to make sure you do a good job. So all that. Leads up to it. But back then, I mean, even now, but like I prepped so hard for each job in a way that, may have been overkill, but I think it was such good exercises for me each time I did it. Like I would make these insane like production binders of like every single detail. I'm talking like every single detail. Oh, you need pose ideas? I have like a whole pamphlet of just like 20 poses you could do sitting here, because you never know what kind of pickle you're going to be in, and you always want to like have things readily available. And so I prepped really hard just with things readily available, whether it's ideas or just like images that like sparked an idea that always reminded me of like, oh, I love the way this photo editorial looks, maybe just because it makes me feel something, and I want to remember to feel that way when I'm on set. So stuff like that I did a lot of. But yeah, I think the nerves were very big back then, but I made sure I surrounded myself with a team that I really trusted. Like, of course, we all know this is not like a me show out there. It's like I made sure I had a DP that I really trusted, and production designer and my producer. And I think I cut that one with somebody else. I don't remember. But
Yeah.
I just made sure I surrounded myself with people that like I was really comfortable with, like a first AD, all those things. And just like any shoot, you're going into it with the whole squad, and I felt protected in that way.
Yeah. When you finished it and you were on the other side of it, what was like the biggest lesson that you learned from that first big job that you've taken to others?
I think to trust my instincts. But like, I don't remember the lesson on that one, truthfully. But like, but that was kind of the first one where I just kind of did what I wanted to do. And I was like, all right, let's see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, and that's always like a refreshing thing to have that be a success. Like looking back at the video now, I'm like, we could have made some improvements, of course. And especially the edit. Like the edit does feel, I mean, back then, that's what edits look like.
It's a different energy. Like you watch the way things, that's what makes things feel of a certain era too. Like the way it looked, the color palettes that we were using. Like even I was rewatching Ariana Grande's video, which wasn't that long ago, but even that feels like, that feels like the late aughts, you know?
I mean, anything pre-COVID feels like...
Yeah, it just has like a distinct vibe, right? Like, and it's not that long ago, but again, it speaks to like really, really creating a visual language that is representative, that becomes sort of like the ecosystem of the art that we're all making collectively at that time. And so it seems like now you predominantly work with female artists. Is that intentional?
I mean, it's kind of what I'm drawn to, but it's also who's drawn to me. I think I love working with men. Like I just did a music video for 5 Seconds of Summer and David Guetta, not together. And I love working with men. I just think I have, I love working with them, women, of course, but like and they love working with me because I feel like they feel like there's like a nice, shorthand of trust, and I love beauty and they get that I love beauty, and I look at them in a way that is through the female gaze, which well, we talk about like, female directors, the female gaze is actually a thing. Like my perspective on how I would shoot a woman is different than a man. That's just like, because it's my perspective.
Right.
And I think there is something said about that, an artist may find attractive,
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love beauty. I love dance. I love all the fashion. I love all the glam. I love really like kind of going to town with all those elements and lighting and all that. So.
And you really got to do that on Ariana Grande's Thank You Next video, which was 5 years later from the Lil Wayne video. And there's a ton of references I'm sure a ton of people have seen it. But it's got, like 13 going on 30 references, Legally Blonde, Mean Girls, Bring It On, a Kris Jenner cameo, which we love. But when it was released, the video actually held the record for the biggest music video debut on YouTube's history. It earned over 50 million views in 24 hours. It broke Vivo's records as the fastest new video to reach 100 million views. It's like insane, right? And then the song also had huge numbers on Spotify. It made Ariana Grande a #1 hit in the Bill. Like just like so much, right? Like first for a lot of women. And when the music video comes to you, having had the success that the song already had, like how do you not feel the pressure of like delivering on such a cool creative concept that also I'm sure was quite complex to pull off with like clearances and legal and where the boundaries are with that? So talk a little bit about that creative process.
Yeah, I mean, that was, like you said, that was a crazy time for her career. And I was just so happy to be on the ride for it.
Yeah.
Like, truly. It was one of those moments, like lightning in a bottle moments, where you can't really predict that everything's going to align and like hit just right. But it just did. She was at a great place in her career. It was like we were talking about, there was a lot of like people getting really personal in music, but something about the way she got real personal, like naming the names of her exes, was it just hit. It just hit so perfectly with where she was at with her life personally, and just what was kind of cool. And at the time, it was just she knew what she was doing, and her brand at that moment was so dialed in, and it made it like such a rich playground for me to like jump into. And I think in terms of the music video, we just, we got together. We were actually, in New York working on a music video for Breathin', and that was like a ballad. And while we were working on that, she was just most excited to talk about this next one, which was Thank You Next. And so originally it was all about this idea of let's make a video that was kind of about like a burn book, but instead of it being like a burn book, it was like a gratitude book. Like, thank you next, like, like a gratitude book based on like your past relationships. And obviously that made so much sense. But like while we were talking about Mean Girls, we all just started talking about like all the other films at that time that we loved so much that were like in that same sort of like, I don't know, golden era of like, early 2000s movies. And we started talking about, Legally Blonde and 13 Going on 30 and what was the other one in it?
Bring it on.
Yeah. And it was just very like, we just got so excited, and it kind of came down to, okay, well, all of these would be so fun to do and weave together, and Ariana could play all the leads in each one. And it really works because in each of those, you really have like this, young woman in each of these movies that has like this big, conflict. And when she gets through it and gets on the other side, they become like a better, stronger version of themselves while using what they already know, and making that like supercharged into their like new sort of like makeover, better version of themselves. So that was really kind of what drew us to kind of combining all of them together. And it wasn't until I downloaded all the movies and then I cut it to the track myself to sort of see like, okay, what scenes should we focus on? What could the order of them be? And how can we weave in these stories? And then that became like the biggest puzzle piece for me. And then like where each of the films fit. For example, we were going to start with 13 Going on 30 and open up the whole video with the moment where she walks across the two houses with the big dollhouse and like passing the wedding, because at the time she had just called off her engagement with Pete Davidson. I almost said Pete once. She just called off her engagement with Pete Davidson. And so she really wanted to open the video with like a wedding scene and then see, a fake out, like see her walk across with a dollhouse instead. But as I was like cutting the footage from the movies to the song, it didn't really work there, but it did really work at the bridge of the song. So we kind of restructured, based on just me playing around with that footage and seeing how it could all fit together. And what made it so genius was really just, all the details we could throw in that were very like Ariana coded, right? And all like the Easter eggs and not to be like, I love Taylor Swift, but I love Taylor Swift, but we kind of did like the first real Easter egg drops with our videos that we had done. Easter eggs weren't as much of a thing then. Now they're huge and Taylor's like the queen of that. But like back then it was like a little like, oh, we're hiding things in the videos in a way that is getting fans to go back and rewatch videos. With that really like made sort of the virality of it explode. Yeah, it was really just niching down on Ariana's brand and how can we make these characters Ariana, and all those details that went into it is what I think made it so viral.
Yeah. Did you guys have any roadblocks though with wanting to get clearances and ability to use some of the I mean, it's really iconic. It's definitely a callback to a lot of that stuff. So what was that process like?
Oh my God, we didn't get any permission. We didn't check in with anybody. The label was freaking out the whole time. It was like every single set we had to like have a picture from the movie and then like next to the monitor and be like, okay, now how do we make it look really different? And it sucks because like you can see us kind of just like the production design, our production designer, John Rochelle, was so great and his whole team was so good. The way that we built sets and rolled with the punches, and like it was a 3-day shoot, which also doesn't happen that often. Yeah. And so it was a lot of locations. We were really crafty with like how we did like each of the locations and where we shot what and all of that. But it was a lot of like, okay, picture next to the monitor. Okay, how do we make it look different? And then we just kind of like hoped that we wouldn't get in trouble. And then luckily when it came out, everybody really gave it its blessing.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't they? Right. Yeah. But that was a big gamble that you guys were taking.
It was. It was.
But more power to you. What was the most difficult part of that entire process?
Managing all the personalities. It's when you have that many people on set and that many moving parts. There was a lot of celebrity cameos, and it's just a lot of cast. And it was just, and Ariana is a huge artist, and that comes with just a lot I mean, she was such a great collaborator in all that process, but it just comes with a lot of,
People.
managing
Yeah,
people
yeah.
skills. And I think communication is obviously one of the lessons I learned. Like some part of the communication is something I take away from each job. When you ask about the Lil Wayne job, I'm like, I don't remember because it was so long ago. But like, yeah, I mean, communication is just the craziest.
Communication is so broad, right? Like
Right.
how you communicate with an Ariana Grande is going to be quite different than how you're talking to like your DP, right? So when you're talking about collaborating with these high level artists that are so creative and have, like you said, dialed really into their brand and are protective of that brand because the whole world's watching what they're doing.
Yep.
That's a lot of pressure on you, on them. So how do you have those conversations and communicate in a way where you're always in support of their vision, but sometimes you got to bring bad news, or do you handle those conversations?
Yeah, I mean, you said it is their brand. It's not my brand. I mean, at the end of the day, like my fingerprints all over everything I do, whether I like it or not. And Ariana actually was the artist who really taught me the most about how to work. Like it's their face on that screen. It's their face up on that billboard. It's their face up on Times Square. Like it's not mine. So like I have to fully respect that. And I think when it comes down to, what I share or how I share something, I think you really do have to sort of like really think about how you communicate. Take your time with how you communicate. Sometimes check with other people, check with your team. Am I communicating this in a clear way? Is this how I should respond to this? And you just kind of, and a lot of it is over text. But, obviously in person, whatever happens. But like, it really is, over communicating so they know what they're getting into. They're like an actor. They want to they want to know what's going on. They need to know, what their motivation is, where they're coming from, where they're going, just like any actor would in a scene. Only for them, they're not playing a part. They're playing themselves, even if it's their own music video and they're playing, a Regina George. And I actually learned something from a DP that I like to take with me when I'm working with somebody. Like when I work with a DP, his name is Carlos Verone. He's one of my like longtime collaborators. He shot like Side to Side, Demi Lovato, Cool for the Summer, Lee Michelle, like so many projects of mine. Whenever I work with him, something I always loved when I talked to him or I said something stressful or I needed something, he would look to me and he would say, "No problem." There's something about hearing "no problem" that is just like, right?
Yeah.
So when an artist or somebody comes up to me that like is stressed out and needs something or is trying to communicate to me, "No problem." Like, how much better do you feel? Like you feel so good hearing "no problem." And then you go figure it out. So I think like a lot of that, that's something I really do take with me. And I know it sounds so like silly and like it seems like such a small thing, but like communication is truly everything in our business, especially as a director. You're just constantly relaying what's in your head to other people.
Well, in the simplicity of the communication, because you're up against time and money.
All the time.
So you can't go into a long-winded thing. So to your point, just to be able to say "no problem," it's like succinct, gets the point across, and we keep it moving. You know what I mean? Because you don't have time to have a whole therapy session around whatever the thing is.
And speaking of therapy sessions, some artists do need a therapy session.
True. Yeah.
I think the hardest part about my job, and I'm sure other directors would agree with this, and I don't know if it applies to film or scripted, but it is just like, okay, when are we, maybe it does, because I'm sure, a lot of these personalities are alike, but when do we focus just on like making sure we're good and we're chatting and we're feeling good? When do we talk about the scene? When do we talk about what I need from you? When do I tell you this tricky situation? It's like you kind of just have to navigate and read the room in a way that like, it's the people skills and that sort of communication that like really come with experience.
But I think that's also where like the producer in this scenario, I think in any lane is so vital, because there is a protective nature to be the person that can have some conversations so that the director can primarily focus on creative and keeping things in a certain like vibe with the artists, right? It's an artist or an actor, right? And not to say that they can't have the hard conversations, but I think that's where I've seen in myself, but also other producers I've worked with, where they can really step in and handle some things that kind of keeps sort of like a line in the sand a little bit, so that it doesn't taint this trust,
Yeah.
right, creatively between the artist and the director, which is super important. Again, especially when you're on these music videos where you have like a day or two to get it in the can. So you really have to be dialed in on how you're going to navigate the situations. And that's where I think a producer can really step in and be helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of times, like, I won't even, tell them what an issue is, and I'll just work it out.
Yeah.
With, behind the scenes, or if there really is something major, I will make sure that it's not coming from me. And I'll say, like, you know what, this needs to go through my producers, through management to you. Like, I'm not talking about like thank you next anymore. I'm more just like in the broader scope. Like, if, for example, I just did a music video for 5 Seconds of Summer, and we had to cut some scenes, when we were looking at the schedule. And I'm like, well, I cannot be the one to tell the band we can't shoot these things, because we had a 2-day approach, and then we had to only have 1 day for shooting. And then, we tried to save as many things as we could in our 1-day approach. But, I didn't want to be the one to deliver them the news that we had to cut a scene.
Yeah.
So there's some things like that, which like I know where I can draw the line and be like, hey, you need to talk to them. But when I'm working with an artist and I know they're going to be a tricky artist, and I know what I'm getting into because maybe I'd worked with them a lot, I will make sure I have a conversation with the DP and their whole crew that like, hey, we need to be ready when they step on. Like, they can't be stepping into light. We will have a stand-in. But like, if we are not ready and our lens changes are not quick, and we need to talk about our lens changes, and like, okay, make sure your team knows that like Steadicam, you need to be up and ready. Like, I can't wait for you to mount up. She's on set, on her mark. You need to be right there. So like, stuff like that, you start to learn, like, once you work with certain people, the pacing of things.
Yeah. And I also think like folks that are super seasoned as well, I think actors, who I've worked with who are like well-known A-lister types, like they just know the efficiencies and inefficiencies of set, and that drives them crazy. So you just got to bring your A game when you're dealing with always, but especially when you're dealing with people at that level.
Yeah. So as you can see, like, most of this isn't even about like the creative. It's literally about how you like navigate situations.
Well, it's management.
It's literally, so when you're asking like what's the hardest part about a certain job, it truly is. It's like these little things. It's like, oh yeah, and I have to direct it in terms of like, what am I trying to say? What's on camera? Who's the cast? What's it look like? Where are we shooting? Like, those are all huge things, but like all the other stuff is like really where the big learning lessons are. Yeah. So yeah.
And you've had some of these like longtime collaborators, like Demi Lovato seems to be one of those people. And you now just shot a video for her second single, Here All Night, which dropped a couple weeks ago. She's got a new album that's coming out in October. As a director, like, how do you, when you are having these conversations, how are you balancing maintaining their brand and authenticity while still experimenting?
It definitely varies per artist. And I will say, I love Demi. I've done so much work with her over the years. Literally Cool for the Summer was shot in 2015.
I love that video, by the way. That song marked a season of my life.
Thank you.
I can't talk about on mic. Yeah.
No, she was an artist that I was obsessed with as well. Like, so like Avril Lavigne, of course, but like her too. Like, I was like a huge camp rock fan. I loved like her Get Back album. Like, I was such a Demi fan. So working on Cool for the Summer in 2015 was like, oh my God. So yeah, I mean, still, I love her to death. And we've done so many projects together, including her documentary, Simply Complicated, in 2017. And so, yeah, working with her on this creative, it's so artist dependent on like how much involvement they'd like to have, who's on their team, and then like where they are, in their moment. For example, this one, I worked with her. She has a creative director, Imogen Strauss, who is also Charlie XCX's creative director. Mm-hmm. And Addison Rae for her show. So she's very plugged in, very cool girl, like obsessed with her. So when I, got the call for this one, I was so excited because I knew that like the three of us together, me, Imogen, and Demi, we were going to just like tear it up. Like, there's no denying it's going to be a hit because it's like, it's, three powerhouses basically, not to toot my own horn, but I knew that when we got together, it would be magic.
You should toot your own horn. Side note,
no,
like, toot. Like, no one's not.
No, thank you. But I wouldn't speak about myself like that out loud necessarily.
Well,
but
I think that's the thing that I'm hoping the next generation of women can get over.
Oh, they're doing it. They're fine.
They are. They're doing fine.
They're doing
because
just
we
fine.
tend to be like very coy and like sort of downplay our accomplishments. But no, it's Three powerhouse women. Go on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I knew it'd be like a really fun collaboration. And Imogene is somebody who comes with a lot of ideas. And I respect that fully because she's the one who sees the full big picture. Like, while I may be the director of the project, and maybe like, for example, I'll be working with like somebody from wardrobe and they won't see the big picture like I do because they're just working on wardrobe. So in this situation, I'm the director of this music video, but Imogen sees the full picture of her whole album cycle. So it's like, I respect, I'm going to listen to her in terms of like, where is this going? What is the story? What is the narrative they're telling in this sort of big picture way? And I will jump into their world. So for that one, it was, I got the song. And they had, to be completely honest, they had kind of spent a lot of their money on their Fast video, the one that came out prior to mine, the first single. And the Fast video was like shot on a back lot, a lot of art, a lot of talent, night shoot. That's expensive. So for this one, they were like, let's just keep it a little smaller. Let's just make it more like a simple, more confined situation. And just have Demi in it. I'm like, great. I would love to do a video that didn't have any other talent.
Just focusing on
her.
How
focusing
exciting.
on her. Like, great. That sounds awesome. So Imogene like had the idea to like have her dancing in like a sky rise. And then from there, I kind of like took it and ran with it and gave it the little narrative I did. And so that was definitely like something that happens often where you'll work with like their team and you'll be given like a nugget of an idea and then I take it and put my spin on it, expand on it, and then make it, feel like something that feels like something I'd be excited to direct.
Have you ever had where like you kind of bring her an idea or a seed of an idea that
totally. Definitely. And I think I did that a lot with Ariana too, because I think we had a long working relationship back then. And it was, I would you text with these people all the time and that's how most of the communication was. But I think a lot of time now I'm finding that there are the creative directors that are also involved and that role didn't exist before. I mean, there have always been creative directors in some capacity, but that were like a kind of attached to an artist. It's kind of a new thing.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, who's the creative director? Now let's start.
It's like taking their
them.
branding to a whole nother level because they're thinking big picture the whole time, right? Like to your point, and not just the album, but even like what's the tour? What's this going to look like?
There's so many assets you need to deliver now. It's like you got 9x6 and you got 4x3, all these things you have to do on all the platforms. It's exhausting.
Yes, it is. I have a tiny podcast and I'm exhausted. I can't imagine to be a brand of that size.
Exactly. So it's like, and all the promo and let alone the visuals, like what are they wearing? What's their messaging? Like all of those things are all kind of fall under the creative director. And, creative direction is something I definitely want to do as well. Like, I think it would be really fun to just work beyond the music video, but like, how do you do the album rollout and the socials and the photography and all those things that go with it? So
you have ambitions to work in long form. I know you were talking about that in narrative. How is that going? How's that transition going? And how do you think that your background in music video uniquely positions you to bring that perspective into long form?
Well, I'll start by talking about what I think music video directing does and the advantage I may have there is I think as a music video director and commercial director, you have to establish tone immediately. So I think that's something that I can do, like in world building. With that, I have been able to have a lot of practice and like all different types of scenarios and timelines have been so quick and turning things around quickly and pivoting from, I'm not saying pivoting from job to job is necessarily a skill that would be helpful in long form, but I think it's just had me work muscles, like creative muscles a lot.
Because of the volume and how quickly music videos and commercials happen. It's like you can go from ideation to aired in 10 days sometimes. And that would, like we were just talking, it takes 10 days to even send an email or get a phone call back sometimes. In like the long form, it's just like such a gargantuan task, such a different frame, so that it's like you are getting so many more reps in doing that and collaborating. And like we were saying, like collaborating with different kinds of artists, dealing with all the different types of personalities, finding your people, putting those people in your pocket that you're like, these are the people I know I want to be on set with for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my God. And like, it's so great when I get to do like a commercial that is like multiple days. And then you feel like, oh, I feel like I'm like really getting to know this crew and this talent. And like, that's fun. Like, obviously you get to know like your DP and your production designer because you're in them with prep, but like not necessarily everybody on set, you know? It's super cool. But I think, I mean, the film side, it does just like you were saying, it takes so long to get things going. And so I'll be reading scripts and then I'll be like, okay, I like this. What's next?
They're like,
and then like a whole year will go by. It's heartening. It's hard and it's like disheartening.
Yes.
But you just got to have a lot of irons in the fire, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think some people look at my resume and what I've built, and they're like, "Oh, you do a lot of different things." And like I've always loved playing in different sandboxes because of exactly that. Like I love the sprint of the short form kind of things we get to do, but also I'm down for the marathon to go make something that is longer format because I see the value in that. It's what got me in the game. You know, like movies are what made me fall in love with this industry and why I chose to come here. Even though like music videos also imprinted in me in a way that like just made it feel possible. You know, getting to see that.
I mean, I'm so grateful for music videos because they did get me in the door, like to have conversations seriously on like the movie side.
Have there been any like serendipitous moments when you look back in your career that made you feel like, okay, I'm like really in alignment with my dreams. Like all of these things happen in this way that I couldn't have predicted, but I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now?
I mean, I think right now, I have 2 kids. And so it's like when I think about it in perspective with like, okay, I have a family and I'm a working director. Like that's pretty cool. You know, like it's not easy being a working director. And I think for so many years, I would always be like, I'm a director, I'm a makeup artist, I do photography, I'm an editor. Like I'm a working director. And like that feels good to say. You know, it's been a while now, but like there was a long period of time I would always say like I'm on the cusp of the cusp of the cusp. And now I feel like I think I'll always feel like I haven't fully made it yet, but I'm trying every day. And I think that it's like I just haven't stopped. You know, I think that's the difference between me and somebody who maybe I went to film school with who is not doing it anymore. You know, I just never quit. I never stopped doing it. And then it just, you know, starts to like sort of snowball into actually being a real big thing.
How did you navigate those periods of your career where things weren't happening as much? And there are these downturns, right? It's like peaks and valleys for all of us. And after 20 years, I'm sure you have had a lot of those. So how did you navigate those downturns and stay motivated to stay in the game?
Oh my God, it's so tough. And I think even like it's so tough. Even now when there's slow periods, it's like, what's going on? Why is there no work? It's like even just like 6 months ago, right? And work has been weird in LA. We all know this. We all feel that. And it really is. And for also for a minute, I wasn't on trend. Like what I was doing wasn't what people wanted. People wanted like dirtier, grittier, not necessarily grittier. They just wanted like messier, less polished. They didn't want what I was doing, which people think of me sometimes only as like glossy beauty, pretty, you know?
Yeah.
And I think I know I have more range than that, but I think people didn't think of me for like the dirty pop. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
totally.
And so I wasn't like in for a second. I think I'm back in, I hope. But yeah, so, you know, but back in the day when things were like, you know, when I didn't have like more of a name as a director, it was very, you had to have a lot of jobs. Like I worked at retail. I did, like I said, I did makeup and editing. And I did whatever I could to just be in the industry. And it wasn't easy though, you know?
No, I mean, I hear that. I've done so many odd jobs.
So many odd jobs.
I also had a stint as a makeup artist. I painted walls for a living. I edited like paparazzi videos. I've done like there's
the
so many
weirdest
skill
parts.
sets.
Yes.
I've like built furniture for other people. Like I've been a TaskRabbiter. Like it's just I've been a nanny.
That's
like
great.
You name it. Like I've done so many odd jobs. But I think like that hustle, like of people, like because I also don't consider myself as someone who came up in the traditional Hollywood systems. I've always been on the margins and had to like blaze my own path. And you pick up a lot of interesting life skills and you meet a lot of fascinating people.
Which is so important as a director, is life skills, because so many projects call for so many odd specific things. And I guess, and same with producing.
Yeah, sometimes I'll be like,
solving.
I actually know how to do that. Like back to Demi, I know she threw a party actually for Here All Night, and she mentioned that the night was filled with watching like iconic music videos. In your opinion, what are some of the most iconic music videos of all time?
Oh my God. Oh yeah. Well, first of all, that party was so fun because not only was it like a Demi Lovato, like, you know, release party, and we were playing a lot of like Demi videos and Demi music. Like that's always fun. She has so many hits, and like her discography is like crazy.
Yeah.
Like Heart Attack. Like we were all just sitting around
and
like watching
so
Heart Attack.
Still too.
I know, she's so young. It's
that.
Crazy. She is so great and like so happy and so good. I'm so happy for her. But I think some of the most iconic music videos, I mean, this is so tough, but Britney Spears' Slave for You is one of my all-time faves. Britney Spears' Toxic, Avril Lavigne's Skater Boy, Lady Gaga Poker Face. This is a weird one, but 30 Seconds to Mars Attack. Loved that one. Michael and Janet Jackson's Scream. That is just a masterpiece. Also Mark Romanek, Taylor Swift, Shake It Off. Yeah, like Christina Aguilera, Hurt. I actually was a PA on that one. Floria did that one. Christina Aguilera, Fighter by Floria Sigismondi. Yeah, there's so many new ones too that are so great.
Yeah, they just keep getting better and better, I think, you know, that people like really weaving in some storytelling in there.
Yeah, I love like what Olivia Rodrigo's doing. I love Petra Collins as a director. I think she's so cool. I love what Charlie's doing. Like Billy, they're all killing it. Sabrina Carpenter.
Oh my gosh, they're all like so. I think it's also cool because of the era that we're in music videos, musicians that become artists and brands, they're already thinking about this stuff early on. Like these women are still just getting started in a lot of ways, and they've already brought so much.
It's insane to me that artists that I'm working with are born in the year I graduated high school.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think that was going to be possible, but here we are.
Here we are.
Like, wow.
Is there an alchemy that you think makes a music video truly like effing great?
The song. Without a good song, there's nothing. Like it has to be a hit. It has to be a hit. It has to be the song. Like truly.
Yeah.
You could have a shit video and the song is amazing. The video you will still think is good.
Yeah. There's never enough time or money. We know this in anything we do. Mm-hmm. But how do you navigate that?
I'm still figuring it out. But I think that what is the most important thing? What are you trying to do? You're trying to make that artist look amazing. To me, that's just something I always prioritize. And what does that mean? Like, how do I put them in an environment where they are going to perform and be their best? Am I going to put somebody in a bar, in a city street, in an alley, in a art-directed, art build space, in a crowded space, in an empty space? Where are they going to shine? Mm-hmm. There's some artists, you put them next to people and it doesn't work. You put them by themselves and suddenly you're like, wow, they're incredible. So it's just like, what is that? And that's just something that it's a intuition thing, but it's also like what has worked, what doesn't work, based on past stuff they've already done. But I think it's truly like, how do you make that artist look amazing?
When you do have all those elements in one video, though, narrative, performance, choreography, dancing, like how do you find the balance between all of that?
Yeah, that's just the hardest thing, right? And especially with the one-day shoot, the thing that usually has to give is the narrative, right? Because at the end of the day, what's the most important thing? They look great.
Right.
So the narrative is usually the hardest thing that can stay there. So when people are always like, I've had like reps or management or, people be like, hey, like, let's try and, make a video that is kind of almost like a proof of concept of a type of movie you want to direct. And I'm like, I don't have control over that.
I think a lot of folks are surprised to learn that artists actually pay for their own music videos. It comes out of their pocket in some way, shape, or form, right? Whether even if it's through the record label, depending on where they are, like in their journey, if it's in advance or whatever, but it's still ultimately coming out of their pocket. And it's why I think you see more and more. This definitely became very apparent to me in the Britney era of my life. Like 20 years ago, you started to see product placement. Oh, we have a car shot. Oh, we're going to, we started to really see these brands get in early because that was such a good place where you could subsidize the cost of your video. in a way that
100%.
makes sense and is creatively aligned. But now I also think we're entering this moment where, there's so much of that now where it's like everything feels like a mini commercial, but it's important, right, to have some placement and brand alignment. So when you do have to collaborate with these products and these brands, how do you navigate that in a way that doesn't really lose sight of like the artist, making them shine, the concept,
I mean, it's all crazy and difficult. And yeah, you're usually getting these product placements at the last minute too. It's never like, oh, let's write this into the initial
It's
concept.
like you're not just like, ideating with that. It's like, no, you got to fit in like Ferrari now or whatever.
Yeah, at the last second, you could be thrown like a phone or an app. For a while, it was like Chime banking cards. That was a tough one. Like suddenly you have to have the artist pay for something. And it was just like the worst. I'm kidding, we love Chime. But like, it was just so hard to make that organic. And like, but I think fans know, like,
they get it.
Like, they get it. Somebody's got to pay for these videos. You just kind of have to adapt, right?
Yeah.
This is a job after all. And each video cannot be your opus.
Facts. That's the quote of the.
But that shouldn't be the quote because I don't mind obviously that staying in. But it's more just like sometimes you just have to like. There's only so many battles you could fight, and and at the end of the day, you're being hired to do a job.
You were talking about being a working director, and I think that's part of it, right? Like you have to know your own, like where you fit into the process.
Yes.
And where you really it's your time to like put your foot down, and where it's like, it is just a job and you are just in service of a creative, of an artist, and knowing those boundaries are really important. And I think that's what probably has made you a consistently working director, because folks can get in their own way. And a lot of folks have ambitions to do more than just, and I say just in air quotes, do music videos, and they want to branch out to other spaces. And, you can get lost in that a little bit sometimes and lose sight of like, that's great. You should have those ambitions, but like right now, this is your job.
I mean, totally. I have a funny example, not a funny, but like an example of something where I was working on a music video for Taco Bell, and Lil Nas X was the star
artist
in it, the artist collaboration with Taco Bell. And I remember this so specifically because I was like, yeah, what the hell am I doing? So here's what happened. I was setting up a scene, and it was kind of like the end of the spot. And I was talking to him about what the scene was. And I just kept saying what was happening in the scene and what the other actor was going to be doing in the scene. I just kept being like, she's going to do that, and this is going to happen here, and then this is going to happen here, and she'll be doing this to you here. And then he goes, well, what am I doing? And like, it's like no shade or anything. It was more just like, yeah, why did it was the way I communicated. It was not like, here's what I need from you, here's what you're doing, and then here's everything else. It was just one of those moments on set where I was like, yeah, I just gave you like my whole life story, and like I really just needed to tell you what was going on.
You gave him the macro, and
I gave him too much information.
Yeah.
And I just remember him looking at me like, well, what am I doing? And like with this like look on his face, like, lady, shut up. And like, again, he was incredible to work with, and like he's such a star. And but it was just one of those moments where I was like, yeah, I need to like reel it in. So maybe like this conversation.
No, that's great. So when you do a lot of artist collaborations.
I do.
When you do them, it must be tricky to navigate having two big stars who have different, perspectives, agendas, sometimes schedules, sometimes not even on set at the same time. Like, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, I mean, it can be very tricky because you have an artist. I'll just wrap it up again. It can be very tricky because you can have an artist who like loves themselves in a certain shot, and the other artist may be in it, and that other artist doesn't like themselves in that shot. And there could be like, well, I want that shot, I don't want that shot. Stuff like that is really tricky.
Yeah.
And I think, there's compromise that has to happen somewhere. And it can be tough being in the middle of that, especially if you're just like communicating on text message.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is like, I'll bring my team into the mix, be like, hey, what's the best way to respond to this?
Right.
There's no shame in like checking with your people to be like,
for sure,
what's the best way for me to respond in a way that is like politically okay, also making them understand that I've got both of their backs.
Right.
Because that is a very hard thing to navigate.
Yeah.
Like it just is.
The people aspect of it is always like the trickiest.
I'm telling you, it's the hardest part of the job. And then, you have to be creative.
Right. And you have to be creative.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's time to move on to the martini. You're from Seattle, which is famous, among many things, for its coffee culture. What's your go-to coffee order?
Double tall sugar-free vanilla latte. Whole milk.
What's a song that teleports you to a happy place?
Oh, so many. Okay. Disney. Anything Disney. Like right now, it's Encanto. It's MGK Cliche because it's my son's favorite song.
Love it. What's a piece of art that moved you recently?
I think the movie The Substance. I watched that movie and I was like, I'm making movies. I knew there was never like a doubt, but like I'm doing this.
It definitely has a Hannah Lux, I think, aesthetic for sure.
I was obsessed with the visual language of it.
So funny that movie has been brought up a couple times recently on the show.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's great.
It's just it stays with people. Who is one artist you haven't worked with yet that you're dying to?
Olivia Rodrigo, Rihanna, Dua Lipa. Yeah.
Which of your projects are you proudest of and why?
I think Tate McRae. It's okay. I'm okay. That was one of those shoot days where I just like pushed so hard every single setup. And it was like, I knew we had to be firing on all cylinders to just make our day because she had like a hard out at like 10 p.m.
Oh my God.
And it was like a 1-day shoot and we had so many setups. We were on a back lot. We didn't have a prep day in the back lot. And on a back lot, you have a big footprint. So it's like moving chunks and chunks of like people and equipment. And I just was like, I was just so focused, so laser focused because I knew this was like a huge moment. Like the video like had to be good. It had to be good. And I was like 7 months pregnant and I was like running around and it was hot in the summer. It was just that one I'm just proud of. That it really turned out.
Yeah. If you could have had a cameo in any of your music videos, which one would it have been?
Demi Here All Night, just peeking in one of those windows.
Okay, which is more challenging, finding creative alignment with an artist and their team or traveling internationally with 2 small children?
Great question. I haven't traveled internationally with 2 small children, but I literally just came back from Seattle with 2 small children and I flew my nanny out because I couldn't do it alone. Because my husband wasn't there. I think work. I always say, actually, anybody who's looking to have a kid who's in the industry, I'm like, our job is way harder. It is.
Yeah.
Listen, my kid is only 3 and almost 1. So I'm not like in like big problems phases yet, but production, what we do, so much harder.
So much harder.
Oh my God.
Than parenting? Than
so much harder.
Babies? Yeah. Production really prepares you for parenthood in a way that like you only know if you know. Like if you've been in the trenches of production, you're like, you can kind of handle pretty much anything that your kid throws
and
at
the
you.
Emotional terrorists of production and your kids when they like mess with you. I mean, I think that our job is harder.
Yeah.
Because kids are so fun.
Yeah.
Kids are so fun. It's the best
fun.
thing ever. Having kids is the best. It's better than I can ever imagine. People are like, oh, it's fun. I'm like, and I knew it was going to be fun, but it's so much better than I could ever imagine.
What's so fun about it?
Like just being around them, being with them, laughing with them, playing with them, teaching them something and having them talk to you and be excited to show you something they just learned. And just every little thing is so much fun.
Yeah.
It's the best. Even the smallest, most mundane things like waking up early to like go to the airport. Oh my God, mama, buses, mama, orange bus. Like, oh, suddenly I love the airport. You know what I mean? Like it's great.
Yeah. That's so cute. What are your top 3 can't miss must-dos at Disneyland?
My favorite place. Disneyland's my favorite place in the world. Popcorn when you enter Disneyland, churro when you enter California Adventure, and pirates. That's probably my 3 favorite things. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, lastly, what's your advice to younger women who want to get into directing?
You just got to do it. As cliche and simplistic as that may seem, you just got to do it. You're not going to learn how to direct not directing. Yeah. You know, you just got to do it. And I think having a good Instagram presence is important these days. Post pictures, post yourself, post your vibe. People want to hire people who have a good vibe aesthetically, and they trust people who are cool. So
just be cool.
Just be cool. Yeah. But really though, if you're checking somebody out to work with them, what do you do first? You check out their Instagram.
Yeah.
Do they seem like somebody I'd want to hang around? Do I trust their taste? Directing is all about having taste. It's decision after decision after decision of taste. So they want to know that you have good taste.
Yeah.
So I think if you want to be a director, start to curate what you like. Start to understand what you like and what you don't like. And that will help you navigate not only who you are as a person and how you live in this world, but also just like how you how you do your art.
Yay. Well, thank you so much.
Is that okay?
So good.